How are you feeling about how much progress the UK and the EU are making over this Brexit negotiations?
Well, in my view, I mean, the problem actually at the moment is not the lack of progress in the negotiations between the UK and the EU. Its problem is the lack of progress in the negotiations between the UK and itself.
Right.
The reason that we haven't made sufficient progress on the exit bill is not that there's this huge gulf between the EU position and the UK position, because we don't actually have a UK position. The UK has not said, yes, we accept elements of this element of the bill, no, we don't accept that element of the bill. And that actually is what the EU is waiting for. But the problem is that Theresa May is not yet in a position, doesn't have agreement among her own party and cabinet, or perhaps in the country as a whole, to put a constructive offer on the table.
David, are we close then to the cabinet uniting or not? What's gonna make them united?
Well, I think we're not going to be united until we know what the final outcome is in terms of where we would like to be. You can't work out the bill for something until you know where you're heading, and we're not heading in any particular direction that allows us to determine what this bill is. And until we do that, we're going to be...
Are you blaming the EU then? Or are you blaming the sequencing of the talks?
The sequencing was... we are in this position now because of predictable consequence of the sequencing. You can't work out a bill before you know how much you've used. It's like staying in a hotel overnight and then being asked to keep paying for the next day and the day after that, simply because they're turning around and says, well, we might not get anybody to come into the hotel tonight. You have to keep paying until we find a guest. And no one is going to accept those terms unless you know.
But we're stuck with those terms, aren't we? We're stuck with them.
We can turn around and say, we're not going to play ball anymore. We wanted to have a good free trade deal with you. You don't want to do that. We can go to WTO terms, and we can set our own tariffs, and we can trade with the rest of the world, and you can abide by the tariffs that we set ourselves. We can play that game. We can do that. We should have done that from the beginning.
Do you recommend that game, Jonathan, or not?
No. I mean, yes, we could do that. But I mean, you've had a succession of guests on, I'm sure, who've said that this would be disastrous for different industry sectors, whether that's the car manufacturing sector facing a 10% tariff every time parts cross the border, right through to service industries, which will lose access to the single market. I don't think that is realistic. I don't think anyone serious in the UK government actually thinks that is a sensible agenda to pursue, which is why we are where we are. And the consensus among external economists is that that would impose significant medium and long-term costs on the UK economy.